we get down to the nitty-gritty, of course, it is the yogic rituals that define Tantra. And I haven't really given you what the integrity of a Tantra is, what is in it. There's four particular or commonly found sections of any given Tantra. These are called padas, or sections. And we have at the forefront, we have the Kriya Pada. Kriya means ritual activity, or the specific rituals that define the movement. And these, of course, are going to not so much be rituals, they're not at all rituals of prostrating to a deity out there. We're moving beyond that to the esoteric ritual of yoga itself. Yoga becomes a ritual of daily self-recognition, of self-attunement, of yoga in both practice and in terms of the state that word represents, a state of attuned liberation, right? So we have the Kriya Pada, we have the Charya Pada. This isn't in your slide, I'm just shooting these off. Charya means conduct, and it's lifestyle stuff, dietary stuff, sort of correlated to Patanjali's yamas and niyamas, his restraints and observances. How to live, in other words, a healthy, abundance-filled life above and beyond your daily yoga. That's what that section is called, the Charya Pada. Then there's also the Jnana Pada, or the wisdom or the knowledge section of a Tantra. And this gives the layout of the vibrating cosmic universe and all of its reality levels, both internally and externally. So sort of the philosophy of a Tantra. That's to say, the reality levels that are navigated inside this body with mantras. We'll talk about that this afternoon. Very cool stuff. And fourth is the Yoga Pada. I just said yoga is part of the Kriya Pada, right? The ritual section. Well, the yoga section in a Tantra, this has been misunderstood even by some good scholars, is essentially yogic practices that are taken from the regular rituals in the Kriya Pada, but now they are engaged by a class of initiates called sadhakas who, in the Yoga Padas, use yogic practices now to gain supernatural powers. So the yoga section of a Tantra is actually the same yoga in the ritual section, only now for the purpose of gaining supernatural powers. Siddhis in Sanskrit. This is not novel to Tantra insofar as we've had supernatural powers before. We have the Ashta Siddhis, or the 8 Siddhis, carry over from Patanjali. This is incidentally, I don't want to go off on Siddhis or powers too much, but it's interesting to note that this is part of what propagated the Tantric movement. Because if you're a king and you're promised supernatural powers through initiation, hell yeah, you know, having your crops prosper, defeating enemies in battle. So there's a superficial side of this too, but ultimately the rituals themselves are the yoga rituals, the daily yoga rituals for spiritual liberation, are the heart and soul of the movement. So, and here we have them, 2 major rituals that I want to discuss as a preview to this afternoon. First is the ritual of initiation, letter A, formed of essentially a sequence or vinyasa of yoga practices. In this case, though, performed upon you by the guru. He or she actually enacts in their own subtle body, in a very elaborate, beautiful, sophisticated ritual, enacts the sequence of practices that you'll then be doing a modified version of yourself once you're initiated. But this first ritual gets the ball rolling. In other words, in essence, the guru, using seed mantras and installing them in your subtle body, helps to extract most of the karmic blockages gathered from unhealed karmas from past life, literally like residue. They call it gunk, dravya, stuck in this body. The guru gives you a head start, essentially, and eliminates ritually, as you're initiated into this particular or that particular lineage, initiates the path that will inevitably lead to your spiritual liberation by extracting the core gunk as a liberated guru, a liberated being. That's to say, the guru performing this rite is said to actually just be a prop or the carrier, almost like a puppet of Shiva himself. Shiva comes in, or Shakti comes into the body of the guru and enacts the ritual of extracting the densest part of your karma. And then karma not here as an emotional, psychological thing, but again as gunk, as residue. And if anybody's had a really good postural practice and has felt the release of something subtle in their body getting deep into a pose, then you know what I'm talking about. We do hold gunk in the subtle body, and it's responsible for suffering, for psychological trauma, according to this movement. And so to extricate the remainder of this gunk, or this karmic block, these karmic blocks that are stored, as we'll see later, in various knots of congealed energy along the central channel of the body, we perform what is known as the Antaryaga. This is letter B. So spiritual liberation in one lifetime, once you're initiated, is now going to be fulfilled by you through a daily tantric yoga vinyasa, or a sequence of particular choreographed yoga practices that you perform now on yourself, and your own subtle body being the temple, the microcosmic temple of Shiva and Shakti,